It's been a while since I ranked my favorite coasters, 3 years in fact, but in that time span, I've ridden so many more of them that my list honestly deserves an update. Since last time, I've also gotten the chance to re-ride some of the coasters on my last list and re-evaluate them. When it comes to ranking my favorites, I look for coasters that really leave a lasting impression. Which ones give the most memorable ride experiences that keep me coming back for more time and time again? Let's find out today with my personal top 25 favorite roller coasters. Number 25, Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure at Florida's Islands of Adventure. Talk about a mouthful. Many consider this to be a quote-unquote family coaster, but even though it isn't an airtime machine or an ultra-intense G-force laden monster, the amount of fun I had in this coaster really helps it stand out for me. First and foremost, the theming on this attraction is among the best I've ever seen on a roller coaster. I'm a huge Harry Potter fan, so I loved seeing all of the references to the series scattered throughout the experience. You get to see Fluffy, Devil's Snare, a unicorn, and even a blast-ended Screw, which wasn't even in the movies. But its theming alone isn't why this coaster made the list. What made this ride truly stand out for me is the amount of variety it has. First of all, it has a whopping 7 launches, the last of which is actually fairly intense for a family-friendly attraction. What makes the launches even better though is the ride vehicle. This coaster gives you the option of riding on a motorcycle or in a sidecar. The motorcycle is definitely my favorite in this case. Being able to grip the handlebars during the launches gives an extra level of immersion to the experience. Aside from the launches, there's also a reverse segment and a drop track as well, the latter of which took me off guard when I first rode this coaster, even though I knew it was coming. Overall, this coaster is like a fine slice of lasagna, with each element stacking up to form a wildly satisfying experience. Number 24, Tatsu at California's Six Flags Magic Mountain. This is without a doubt my favorite flying coaster of all time. When it comes to flying coasters, the more realistic they simulate flying, the better they are for me. This coaster is located on the side of a mountain, which elevates it high above the park and the surrounding area. Throughout the layout, you'll get a gorgeous view of the nearby mountain ranges. Each forceful element is made even more amazing by the vast sweeping vistas. You'll feel like you're strapped to a fighter jet soaring over Valencia, with each daring maneuver giving a different sensation. The corkscrew will gracefully twist you in the air, and the forceful pretzel roll will put so much G-force on you, you may very well gray out. The elevation truly makes this coaster stand out, and it really feels like one of those dreams where you're flying. An absolute must-do when you visit Magic Mountain. Number 23, Mako at Florida's SeaWorld Orlando. I've said it multiple times, but I'll say it again. You can never go wrong with a B&M Hyper, and Mako is certainly no different. No matter how many times I revisit SeaWorld, it never gets old. After boarding the sleek ride vehicles, you'll experience a layout of seemingly non-stop floater airtime. The out and back course sits right on the edge of a reservoir, with some of the track built over water. This perfectly fits its marine theme, and makes the course feel much more open. The majority of the layout consists of massive airtime hills over water, each one lifting you out of your seat. These are the moments that make the hypercoaster model one of my all-time favorites. The sheer sensation of hovering above your seat as you soar up in the air gives an incredible burst of adrenaline. Soon enough, you'll encounter a brief twister section featuring a picturesque turn over the park's lagoon. All in all, this was an incredible addition for SeaWorld Orlando that really put it on the map for me. And Mako is by far my favorite coaster at the park, an incredible hypercoaster all around. Number 22, Iron Rattler at Six Flags Fiesta Texas. This coaster was built by American manufacturer RMC, and it's one of several of the company's coasters to make the list. This coaster fully interacts with the park's limestone quarry wall. This awesome ride goes as followed. Starting off with an outstanding 81-degree drop, you'll immediately ascend the wall and head into a wave turn. After diving off the wall again, you'll once again ascend it, hitting an astounding 0G roll. After a few nice pops of airtime is the final drop, which goes straight off the wall. And in a thrilling conclusion, the train heads into a tunnel built inside the wall before hitting the brake run. It may not be a long ride, but this coaster's incredible setting and solid layout make it among the best RMCs I've ever been on. A big thumbs up to Iron Rattler. Number 21, Montu at Florida's Busch Gardens Tampa. This is still, without a doubt, my favorite inverted coaster. This ride's layout provides one amazing inversion after another. These elements include 2 vertical loops, an Immelman, a 0G roll, a batwing, and a corkscrew, taking you upside down 7 times. Each element is perfectly placed throughout the layout, and what makes some of them even better are the trenches. These are the segments of the ride where the train dips under ground level only to rocket back upwards. These trenches make it hard to see what's coming next, which add a level of suspense to this coaster. The corkscrew in particular always catches me by surprise. Even better, the trains run super smooth on the track, and there's absolutely no headbanging. The more I ride this coaster, the more I love it, and even before Iron Gwazi was announced, I'd say Montu alone was worth the price of admission. It really is that good. Number 20 is the Beast at Ohio's Kings Island. This autumn, I returned to Kings Island for the first time in 4 years, and I'm glad I did. I was especially looking forward to riding the Beast. While Mystic Timbers is an astounding GCI coaster, something about the Beast made it stand out a bit more. In terms of the coaster itself, the 2 main aspects I love about it are the length and the speed. This coaster goes out into the woods, and like the Energizer Bunny, it keeps going and going and going. Instead of focusing on airtime, this ride emphasizes its speed, which is well maintained throughout the course. But there's more to this ride than just length and speed alone. The second drop gives a nice pop of airtime, the tunnels add intensity by echoing the train, and the tilted drop into the wooden tunnel is by far my favorite segment of the ride. You pick up plenty of speed here, and the bottom of the drop is entertainingly forceful as well. Of course, all of this is made even better by riding it at night. Nothing beats zooming through the misty woods with only the stars and the moon to light the track. But for me, this wooden coaster is more than well deserving of its reputation. After all of these decades, it still holds up. Number 19, Time Traveler at Missouri's Silver Dollar City. When this coaster was first announced, many people were disappointed that it was going to be a spinning coaster instead of a standard mock launch coaster. But in an interesting twist, the spinning feature is actually one of the most acclaimed things about it. On its own, Time Traveler would be a passable launch coaster, but the spinning feature adds a whole nother dimension to this attraction. Right from the start, you'll take a 90-degree dive straight out of the station, but instead of facing down, you'll face sideways. Not being able to see the track in front of you makes the drop much more intense in my opinion. And that's only the start. You'll hit a dive loop and a couple of bank turns, once again while spinning. This is followed by an LSM launch, a loop, a 0G roll, and another LSM launch. All the while you'll rotate sideways, seemingly sending you in every possible direction, almost like a gyroscope. Ordinarily, I hate spinning, and if I'm not prepared, I get easily nauseous on spinning flat rides. With Time Traveler though, the spinning was entirely controlled, and it just goes to show how amazing Mock Rides is. Number 18, Twisted Timbers at Virginia's King's Dominion. If you love airtime, you'll adore Twisted Timbers. Formerly known as the Hurler, this coaster was completely redone by RMC for the 2018 season. That year, I got a chance to experience this coaster, and it was so fun that I wasn't as disappointed by missing out on Volcano. This coaster really stands out from the other RMCs I've ridden. It was the first RMC I've been on that featured a barrel roll down drop, which twists you upside down during the first drop. The layout features 2 more inversions, a cutback and a 0G roll. But my favorite elements were the 3 back-to-back airtime hills. These hills launch you out of your seat, and are just 3 of the coaster's advertised 20 airtime moments. All of the elements combined make this coaster feel much longer than it actually is, and I walked off feeling satisfied. The fact that RMC took a coaster as plain and unpopular as Hurler and turned it into an airtime machine is just another reason why the manufacturer is so well regarded. And it's not the only must-do coaster at the park. Number 17, Intimidator 305 at King's Dominion. This is a great coaster for those who love speed and intensity. This makes sense since it's named and themed after the late great Dale Earnhardt. As its name implies, this coaster stands at 305 feet tall with an imposing 85-degree drop. Perhaps the most famous element of this coaster is the large bank turn straight after the drop. You hit this turn at full speed, and you'll experience a G-force so intense that you may gray out or even black out. You maintain this speed throughout the rest of the layout, including a massive high-speed airtime hill. After the first drop, the rest of the course consists mostly of speedy bank turns that snap you left and right. There's also a couple more airtime moments, but for the most part, this ride is all about speed. It's pretty much the closest you'll get to driving an actual race car. Because the layout is mostly low to the ground, it maintains its speed throughout. with the exception of a barely noticeable trim break towards the second half. I haven't ridden this coaster since 2018, but I look forward to experiencing it again, and graying out as I usually do on rides like this. Number 16, Millennium Force at Ohio Cedar Point. You may be wondering why I put this one spot above Intimidator 305, and to be honest, while I-305 is unmatched in pure intensity, I found Millennium Force to be more fun overall. Reason being is that because it isn't balls to the wall intense, Millennium Force allows you to fully appreciate both its layout and the view of the surrounding area. While I-305 sits in an open plot of land, Millennium Force gives an absolutely beautiful view of both Lake Erie and Cedar Point itself. After taking in that stunning waterside vista, you plummet downwards into an enormous overbanked turn. And this is where the coaster differs from I-305. Believe it or not, Millennium Force is actually 3 miles per hour faster. But because it has such tall sweeping elements, it doesn't feel as fast as the former. For me though, this works to Millie's advantage, since the airtime is much more noticeable. Millennium Force's sprawling layout, massive hills, overbanked turns, and tunnels all add up to an epic gigacoaster sensation that has made it well worthy of its acclaim. And although it's number 16 on my list, I can definitely see why it's number 1 for so many. It all boils down to personal preferences. And that's what makes roller coasters so great in the first place. Overall, Millennium Force is always a must-ride for me. Number 15, Burger King Foot Lettuce. I'm sorry, I've always wanted to say that. Anyway, the real number 15 is Maverick at Cedar Point. It was a tough choice between this and Millennium Force. I absolutely adore both coasters, but for me, Maverick has even more variety in terms of its ride experience. Right off the start, you'll plunge down a 95-degree beyond vertical drop, and let me tell you, you just get yanked over the edge in the back row. The drop is just a third of Millennium Force's height, but it packs a hell of a punch that's nothing to scoff at. Like I-305, it has snappy transitions and ultra intensity. And just like Millennium Force, it has a great picturesque setting on the edge of the peninsula. The layout features not only some jubilant ejector airtime moments, but also a high-speed twisted horseshoe roll, which is the first element of its kind on Earth. Just when you think the ride is over, you'll enter a tunnel which shoots you back outside with an ultra-intense LSM launch. This launch heads straight into a photogenic turn over the water, followed by 2 high-speed overbank turns that will just jolt you sideways. Some people aren't big fans of these turns because of the over-the-shoulder restraints, but I'm able to brace myself pretty well for them. And they're honestly entertaining for me. In terms of pure intensity, Maverick is proof that stats alone aren't everything. Number 14 is Ghost Rider at California's Knott's Berry Farm. Yes, this wooden roller coaster is that good. In fact, I thought it was more than good. Knott's Berry Farm is already an incredible theme park, but it's coasters like this that honestly make it among my favorites. This wooden coaster is just massive. It's not nearly as long as the Beast, but there's so much to the layout it feels longer than it actually is. Every drop on this coaster feels like the train is dropping out from underneath you, and the airtime you get is seriously S tier. But this coaster isn't just about airtime, it also features forceful turns that give you some amazing laterals. Furthermore, several parts of the course take place within the support structure, allowing for some impressive head chopper effects. It's everything I love about a wooden coaster, and if it was the only coaster at Knott's, I'd still be more than willing to visit. Not to mention the night ride is totally out of this world. Number 13, Wonder Woman Golden Lasso coaster at Six Flags Fiesta Texas. This coaster can best be summed up by the phrase, "Big things come in small packages." This single rail roller coaster seats 1 person per row, allowing for an open and exposed ride experience. You feel like you're straddling the track throughout the course, and you wonder how you're able to stay on through such an intense ride. Shortly after leaving the lift hill, you'll shoot down the first drop and zoom through the entire layout. It looks and feels faster than it actually is. And going through all of those elements at such a high velocity is a burst of adrenaline that can only be matched by a venti caramel macchiato with 4 shots of espresso. The dive loop, the cutback, and the corkscrew are all as smooth as they are thrilling, not to mention the excellent ejector airtime that you get throughout. It's also awesome how the track is built mostly over water, and the way it sits right next to the quarry wall makes it aesthetically pleasing. RMC really hit it out of the park with this one, and the fact that it's a prototype makes it especially praiseworthy. I haven't ridden a single disappointing roller coaster from RMC, and I'm not likely to ride one anytime soon. Number 12, Superman the Ride at Massachusetts Six Flags, New England. Upon further evaluation, while I may not rank this coaster as highly as I did in my previous top 25 video, it still ranks up there for me. Even after years of riding it at my home Six Flags park, I can't get enough of this coaster. There's plenty to love about it. Whether you're in the front or the back row, the first drop is iconic. The lift hill's placement right next to the Connecticut River allows for a portrait-esque view. After reaching the peak, you drop straight down into a tunnel, and are then taken through a course featuring strong floater airtime, thrilling dips, and forceful bank turns. The pacing is total perfection, and there are so many memorable moments. From the dive through the Superman symbol, to the concrete tunnel, to the bunny hills at the end, this remains a classic for me. And although I'm not too fond of the restraints, they don't really bother me that much for the most part, and they certainly don't take away from how great the ride is. The layout just has so much energy and excitement, and overall, I'm extremely grateful to have a ride like this so close to home. Number 11, Diamondback at Kings Island. When it comes to B&M hypers, this one is absolutely top tier. This gave me more floater airtime than any other hypercoaster out there. Just hill after hill after hill after hill, all of which leave you levitating out of your seat, and not even the trim brakes can kill the fun on this coaster. And of course, that splashdown at the end gives a grand finale to this absolutely epic attraction. To put it simply, it's got everything a B&M hyper should have. Airtime, a long ride, airtime, a nice helix, airtime, and even more airtime. Moreover, I'm a sucker for coasters that go out into the woods, and this ride definitely fits that bill. This gives it an especially awesome night ride, which is pretty much the case for all of Kings Island's top coasters. And you could easily label Kings Island as the night ride capital of the world. Number 10, Twisted Colossus at Six Flags Magic Mountain. This is another incredible RMC coaster. This coaster is best known for its racing feature, pitting two trains against each other on the green and blue sections of track. The attraction is known as a quasi-Mobius loop coaster, featuring two segments of the track connected together. But unlike a traditional Mobius loop coaster which has two stations, this coaster has one station, meaning you'll experience both segments of track in one ride. So in that regard, this coaster is a 2-for-1 deal. To put it simply, both halves come together to form a magnificent whole. You'll start off in the blue section, plunging down a forceful 128-foot drop. You'll then encounter what's known as a high 5 element, which tilts both trains sideways towards each other. Afterwards is what I'd like to call the true highlights of the layout. While the blue track maneuvers an airtime hill, the green track twists above it in an element known as a Top Gun stall. This element is named after that famous scene in the movie Top Gun where Tom Cruise flips off another jet while flying upside down. Experiencing this element on the green track with the train underneath is truly surreal, and pretty intimidating to be honest. The second highlight is a 0G roll on the blue side which twists over and around the green track. These elements are thrilling enough on their own, but the dueling makes them both epic and dreamlike. By the way, another element worth noting is the airtime packed twisted double down on the green side. Overall, while the coaster doesn't duel very often, the experience really puts it on the next level for me. It's still a solid coaster when the trains aren't synced up, but when they are, it's so much more amazing. Now I apologize in advance to airtime thrills, but number 9, Skyrush at Pennsylvania's Hershey Park. I will never forget my first time riding this back in 2017. Take a look at this.
That was fantastic. Absolutely incredible. That was just amazing. Like, I can't even put it in words how amazing that was. That was incredible. Like, the airtime, that had to be some of the best ejector airtime I've ever had on any roller coaster, period.
Basically what the ride boils down to is this. You've got a fast cable lift to the top, followed by an uber intense drop and numerous ejector airtime moments. Yes, the restraints can sometimes be painful, but oftentimes I'm able to ride this with no problem. The brute force of the airtime always takes me off guard, and it's probably the most forceful Intamin coaster I've ever ridden. And I'm not exaggerating, this thing is relentless. You just shoot through the layout like a hot bullet through butter, and by the time it's over, you'll be wondering what the hell just happened. Yes, it can crush your thighs sometimes, but even when it does, I'm more than willing to overlook it. Maybe I'm just a glutton for punishment, but I still love Skyrush. Number 8, Lightning Rod at Tennessee's Dollywood. This coaster has had a tumultuous run at Dollywood. From its initial delays to its downtime to recently having to be retracked, this ride is seen as both a blessing and a curse among enthusiasts. It's kinda like the nacho fries at Taco Bell, available every so often but easy to miss out on. Luckily, I got a chance to ride this in 2018 shortly before it went down for a while, and I just loved it. It's one of those coasters I constantly see in my dreams, which is a true testament for how memorable it was. This ride starts off with a bang by launching you upwards, and while it's trimmed at the top, the rest of the ride is so good that you won't even feel like complaining about it by the end. It's worth noting that while I previously criticized the jolt at the bottom of the first drop, I have heard that it's not there anymore, so I won't bring it up now. The course may not have inversions, but the one thing it isn't lacking in is ejector airtime. Yep, there's enough out of your seat moments for the whole family, including a few heavily banked segments that give sensational sideways airtime. And of course, who could forget that incredible quadruple down, where you get a magnificent quartet of ejector air pops. It's worth noting that one of my favorite parts of this ride has been partially removed since I last rode it. Unfortunately, I was pretty disappointed to hear that many of the trees surrounding the ride have been removed. Some said this was due to the recent steel track refurbishment, but apparently there were trees removed in other areas of the park as well. It's not confirmed, but this was apparently done to help the other trees around the area. This is a process known as thinning, where you cut down older, sicker trees in order to distribute more nutrients to the soil and other trees. If that's the case, while I'm still disappointed, I definitely understand why it was done. The bright side is that it's apparently much easier to take photos of now. Dollywood is a fantastic park overall, and I look forward to revisiting it. Number 7, Orion at Kings Island. This one is definitely going to be controversial, but let me explain. While Diamondback does have more airtime, Orion had this epic feeling to it that really stuck with me. This is the newest Giga Coaster built by B&M, and like Diamondback, it's also a hypercoaster model. The difference is that Orion focuses more on speed and large, sweeping elements. The coaster starts off with an astonishing first drop that heads straight into a humongous wave turn. This element tilts you to the left at almost 200 feet. Afterwards, you'll hit the turnaround, which gives an amazing view of the park. Going through such high-standing elements at such a high speed was both surreal and liberating, especially with only lap bars. Next up is a speed hill that gives some solid sustained airtime, followed by a larger airtime hill which was also solid even with the trim brake. And despite this trim brake, I grayed out on the spiral section that immediately follows it. Finally, the ride finishes off with a sideways banked airtime hill before hitting the brake run. This banked hill was, by the way, the most impressive and forceful element of the ride, which you wouldn't expect near the end of the layout, but Orion is far from ordinary. I had so much fun riding this coaster that there was honestly not a single negative thing I could say about it. It's got the forces, the airtime, and the adrenaline all wrapped up in a fast-paced package. Number 6, Phantom's Revenge at Pennsylvania's Kennywood. Another ride I don't have any complaints with is Phantom's Revenge, by far the best Morgan coaster I've ever been on. Of course, this used to be an aerodynamics coaster with inversions, but it was later refurbished by Morgan to be smoother and more thrilling. This is another coaster where I can safely say, no inversions, no problem. This coaster is super fast and super intense. Perhaps the best part about this coaster is that the second drop is actually taller than the first one. While the coaster is structurally less than 200 feet, the second drop uses the terrain to its advantage, diving 228 feet into the ravine. You reach a top speed of 85 miles per hour here. Once you reach that speed, it never seems to slow down. Another thing I love about this coaster is how it goes under Thunderbolt, giving a startling head chopper effect. And as if that weren't great enough, this coaster has some grade A airtime. Airtime that's completely unhampered by the non-restrictive restraints. The surprise double down in particular was so forceful, it felt like the train was going off the tracks. Suffice to say, if you haven't ridden this coaster, see if you can book a ticket to Pittsburgh next summer. Number 5, X2 at Six Flags Magic Mountain. X2 is so insane, so intense, and so psychotic that it's honestly hard to put into words. I was expecting a hell of a coaster, and I was still blown away by it. The more I think about it, the more I love about this coaster. First off, the controlled rotation of the seats makes for some truly disorienting moments. For example, the first drop has you facing straight down, which is flat out horrifying. From there, you won't know which way is up as the seats continue twisting throughout the layout. One moment you'll be facing forward, and the next you'll be on your back. Then you'll be facing backwards as you pass by a startling fire effect. And that Raven turn at the end is absolutely mental. You're definitely going to want to brace yourself for it. When it comes to intensity, this coaster is simply merciless, and by the end, you may need to sit down for a few moments. X2 is truly a powerhouse. Number 4, Fury 325 at North Carolina's Carowinds. This attraction is often ranked as one of the best roller coasters on Earth, and one ride on it makes it easy to see why. This enormous Giga Coaster is without a doubt my favorite B&M hypercoaster model ever. Starting off with the world's largest lift hill, you'll encounter one of the greatest first drops of all time. This drop seems to last much longer than it actually does, and by the time you reach the bottom, you'll be rocketing at 95 miles per hour. Unlike Orion, this course stays mostly low to the ground, with elements that emphasize the ride's speed and intensity. The first few elements consist of heavily banked turns that snap you sideways with excellent lateral force. There are also a few awesome airtime hills, and don't be fooled by how small they are, because these hills are ultra entertaining. Plus, there's the iconic treble clef element and the hive dive that add even more spice to the layout. The layout is long, one of the longest in the world actually, and how can you go wrong with a long layout that makes the most of itself? The whole experience is pure, unfiltered adrenaline, and although it's been a while since I've ridden it, it has proven to be one of my most memorable coaster experiences to date. I will never forget my first time riding it. Here's a never-before-seen clip of that reaction.
I just rode Fury 325 in the back row on an end seat, and that was so crazy. I can't even put into words what I thought about that.
And that was only in the back row. The front row is even more amazing. Another must-do attraction for sure. And here's an interesting fact. This coaster even has its own Dippin' Dots flavor, and it was pretty good too. I hope it's still there when I go there again. Number 3, Velocicoaster at Islands of Adventure. The Universal Studios Resort is by far my favorite theme park destination. And as if it wasn't already awesome enough with the Incredible Hulk and Hagrid's motorbike, this year we saw the debut of Velocicoaster, a ride based on the Jurassic World movies. While those movies have proven to be a mixed bag for many, the coaster has received near unanimous acclaim from enthusiasts. I had high expectations when I first rode this, and it undoubtedly delivered. Right off the bat, you'll be launched into the incredibly themed course. Themed to a raptor enclosure, the ride experience surrounds passengers with lush greenery, raptor figures, and highly detailed rockwork. The latter of which adds the most to this ride. Not only does it allow for some excellent photos, but there's one segment that I'd honestly consider the most terrifying head chopper effect ever. At one point, you'll enter a scenic element that points a jagged looking rock structure right at your face. I actually ducked when I first saw this, not to mention all of the thrilling ejector airtime moments you'll experience. There's too many of them to even count, and all of that is only the first half. The second part of the ride will shoot you up a large top hat before sending you downwards. Here you'll soar over the park paths, encountering a zero-G stall and eventually heading towards the park's lagoon. And it's here that my favorite element occurs, an inversion often referred to as the Mosasaurus roll. This barrel roll element will hang you upside down over the water, and it literally feels like something out of one of Pew Pew Pew's videos. I could really go on all day about this coaster, but I'll sum it up by saying it's well worth the price of admission. Number 2, El Toro at New Jersey Six Flags Great Adventure. I have yet to ride a wooden roller coaster that has managed to surpass this absolute behemoth. Everything about this coaster is done perfectly, and its intensity is simply unmatched by any other attraction of its kind. Let's start off with the first drop. After a fast cable lift, you'll make a 180-degree turn before diving down at 76 degrees. In all seriousness, it feels a lot steeper than that. This is the kind of gut-busting drop that leaves me speechless every time. Afterwards, your vehicle will hit several airtime hills, with each one being as forceful as possible. One of these airtime hills dips under the supports in yet another excellent head chopper effect. Then you get to the second half, which is a fast-paced twister section. These bank turns are tons of fun, and everything ends with a bang with what's often referred to as the S-curve camelback hills. To sum it up, here's a clip after my first time riding it, because it still holds up today.
I just rode El Toro. Holy crap, that was intense! That was amazing! I mean, I had high expectations for this ride, and it blew me away. This
Pretty banging.
It is pretty banging, yeah.
And now it's time for the number 1 pick, and to no surprise, it's Steel Vengeance at Cedar Point. Wow, just wow. This coaster is like a roast beef sandwich with lettuce, onion, fresh mozzarella, roasted red peppers, bacon, and horseradish mayo. It has all of the necessary ingredients that give you a filling experience that you won't forget. Every second of this ride is legendary. Let's take a look at each element. First, there's the 90-degree drop that hurdles you straight down into a speed hill, followed by an enormous airtime hill that turns to the right. Then comes one of the coaster's many highlights, an outward banked airtime hill. After a smaller pop of airtime, you'll soar through an outstanding 0G roll which takes you through the support structure. Before you can even catch your breath, you'll encounter an overbanked turn and a half stall element. 2 more airtime hills greet you before the mid-course brake run. This brake run gives you just enough of a breather before the rest of the layout, and you'll need it, because what follows is a speed-laden barrage of ejector airtime and 2 more 0G rolls, some of which go through the supports, making for an especially dream-worthy experience. According to Cedar Point, this coaster currently holds the record for the most airtime moments on a coaster. With over 20 seconds of reported airtime, that's around 1/5 of the ride experience, lift hill included. The way I see it, this ride has everything I love about roller coasters. Smoothness, airtime, thrilling inversions, dreamlike moments, and just plain fun. Without a doubt, I stand for Steve, and just to prove that I mean what I say, I made that a t-shirt on my merch store. Check it out with the link in the description. Thank you all so much, and if you want to support me on Patreon, you can do so once again at the link in the description. Thanks for watching, everyone. Feel free to like, share, and subscribe. You can follow me on social media on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, or you can check out my website at themeparkcrazy.com. This is Theme Park Crazy, and I'll see you all next time.